The man moved the sofa blocking their path, and the approaching zombies didn't show much reaction. In order to escape from the house, they had no choice but to cover themselves in zombie blood. It seemed that this method was highly effective. Hand in hand, they proceeded with utmost caution, refraining from making any noise, until they reached a spacious location. Rick then spoke to everyone, stating that there were too many zombies in this area, and heading to the armory wouldn't be of any use. Moreover, the zombies were too scattered. He suggested going to the ravine, using the trucks there to lure away all the zombies. However, Jesse raised the concern of what to do with Judith. They couldn't possibly carry her around everywhere. Rick was momentarily unsure of how to handle the situation. At that moment, Gabriel's gaze became resolute, and he proposed to take care of Judith. He suggested hiding in the church until they successfully led the zombies away. The eyes of a person cannot deceive, and he was no longer the cowardly Gabriel of the past. Rick agreed and entrusted Judith to him. Fortunately, this child behaved well and did not cry on the way. Gabriel carefully held her in his arms and headed towards the church. Hope he is well. Rick couldn't help but look in that direction, but he had no choice but to keep moving forward. On the other side, Glenn brought Enid to one of the churches, knowing that there might be handguns hidden here by Carol and the others. Without weapons, they couldn't save Maggie. They began to search separately, and after a few minutes, Enid indeed found a handgun here. Glenn initially wanted her to stay here for safety, but she refused. Glenn had taught her not to give up hope. As the sky gradually darkened, the zombies remained active. Rick they walked and stopped, but they hadn't reached the exit yet. Walking among a crowd of zombies was a dreadful feeling. The moans of the zombies surrounded them, and everyone kept a close eye on their surroundings, be prepared to be found out. Without any surprises, an unexpected event occurred. Sam looked at the gruesome zombies and couldn't help but recall Carol's threatening words from before. "The monsters will come and get you. You can't run away. They'll tear you apart." Additionally, he witnessed friends from the community turning into zombies. Sam involuntarily let go of Rick's hand. Jesse quickly tried to comfort him and urged him to keep walking, but no matter how she shouted, Sam kept staring ahead. Rick grew anxious and called out to him repeatedly, while Ron tried to persuade him as well, but it was all in vain. Sam's emotions began to crumble, and he even started to sob quietly. Tragedy strikes, the three zombies started to gnaw straight away. Jesse witnessed the scene in desperation, not remembering where she was. Her screams immediately caught the attention of nearby zombies. Rick and Carl's calls were no longer audible to her. She held Carl's hand tightly without realizing it. The zombies lunged at them. Jesse was consumed by the zombies. Rick felt a pang of sorrow and recalled Jesse's smiling face. He had finally developed feelings for someone again, only to have her die right in front of him. It was then that he noticed Carl's hand still being held by Jesse. Several zombies were already heading towards Carl. Rick had no choice but to raise his axe and chop off Jesse's arm with 3 consecutive strikes. Carl's handgun fell to the ground. Just as Rick was about to shout for his son to run, he heard the sound of a bullet being loaded. Unexpectedly, Ron picked up the handgun and aimed it at them. Some people never change. Ron still wanted to kill Rick. In his eyes, Rick not only killed his father, but also his brothers and mother. Just moments ago, Rick cruelly severed his mother's arm, but the young boy was still too naive. He completely overlooked Michonne behind him. Rick breathed a sigh of relief, almost dying in that moment. The smell of blood attracted the zombies, who pounced on Ron. However, when Rick looked at Carl, his heart seemed to stop. Seeing Carl fall to the ground, Ron's stray bullet accidentally injured Carl. Rick went crazy and picked up his son. At that moment, all he wanted was to take Carl to the infirmary. Michonne is no longer hiding either. Get in front of Rick and mow down walkers like crazy to clear the way for him. Michonne already thinks of Carl and Judith as her children. Meanwhile, invaders hid beside a flower bed, taking Denise with them. The screams and gunfire from Rick's group have attracted some zombies and they were preparing to breach the fence. Denise had helped him with his wounds, so he didn't kill her. Instead, he wanted to take her with him and escape. The invader instructed Denise to run with him to the stairs without stopping. Without hesitation, they took advantage of the gaps between the zombies and made their way through the streets, heading straight for the stairs. However, there was a zombie by the stairs. The invader rushed forward and killed it with a knife. Unfortunately, Denise was spotted by another zombie and was about to be bitten. Unexpectedly, the invader came to her rescue. Faced with his savior, he couldn't just stand by. However, he was also bitten by another zombie on his arm. Denise looked at him and said, "Come with me, take me to the infirmary, and I'll save your life. Nobody wants to die if they can help it." The invader held her hand and headed towards the infirmary. Meanwhile, Carol woke up and grabbed a gun. Searching for the invader, she looked outside and felt helpless seeing the countless zombies. All this time she just wanted an uneventful life. That's when the commotion came from outside. It was Morgan. Carol didn't want to see him at all. If it weren't for him, Denise wouldn't have been taken hostage. Morgan apologized for his previous actions that harmed her, expressing that he never intended to hurt anyone. But often, things don't go as planned. Carol sarcastically remarked, "You think you're helping us by saving that intruder? It was helping yourself, trying to redeem what you think you are. If you truly cared about us, you would have killed him." She sighed and added, "I knew from the start that someone like you would only bring harm to the team. I should have killed you earlier." And their conversation ended unhappily. Meanwhile, Denise continued to move forward, and the invader cleared the way for her. Seeing this scene, Carol grew somewhat puzzled. Is it true what Morgan said about people really changing? Even someone as bad as this invader was willingly helping others. Denise also successfully escaped to the infirmary. Spencer and Heath are there too. She hadn't had time to catch her breath. Aaron saw Michonne and Rick rushing towards them in a frenzy through the window. They guessed that Carl must be injured. Denise took a deep breath. The pressure on her as an intern doctor was immense. She hadn't even officially started her job and she was already facing difficult surgeries. Just a few days ago, she was hesitant and afraid to perform procedures. But now she knew that everyone was putting their hopes in her and it was no time to back down. Her instructions, everyone started busying themselves, preparing for the situation. Denise opened the door, and Rick rushed in, holding Carl with a sorrowful expression on his face. Rick felt utterly powerless at the moment. This is the second time. The first time Carl was also mistakenly injured. He felt anxious and extremely afraid of losing his son. Carl was the only blood relative he had left in this world. Rick lifted the curtain and looked outside, where the zombies were attracted by the commotion. He pulled out his axe from his waist and opened the door. He could no longer hear the voices persuading him from behind. He wanted to go out and stop the zombies, partly to avoid interfering with the surgery and partly as an outlet for his emotions. Every swing of his axe was a lethal blow, fueled by anger and significantly enhancing his combat prowess. The zombies were quickly drawn to him. Michonne was also distraught in the house and she was worried about Rick. Aaron suggested they go out and help him, otherwise he would not have survived at all. Spencer, although fearful, decided to join them. It's a battle to the death. Rick was running out of strength when Michonne and the others finally arrived. Their presence immediately relieved a significant amount of pressure from him. They formed a circle back to back and retreated immediately after killing the walkers. This is the tactic Rick taught them earlier. In this way, they make sure they have their backs to teammates. Other survivors watched the intense battle outside, and a surge of determination welled up within them. They couldn't just watch Rick and the others fighting outside while they stayed cowered inside. Soon, they joined them. This gave Rick a boost of confidence. If the hearts of the people are in it, the mountains can move. Slowly the group grew and they killed as they went so that they wouldn't be trapped by the zombies. Gabriel heard them too. He too has made a decision. He entrusted Child to one of the women and picked up a long knife from a chair.
What are you doing?
We've been praying together, praying that God will save our town. Our prayers have been answered. God will save Alexandria. Because God has given us the courage to save it ourselves.
The battle outside continued fiercely, and the zombies couldn't get close due to the overwhelming force displayed. Tara could also sense the dispersal of the zombie horde outside. Carol rushes in to tell them that Rick is fighting outside and Denise is safe. Tara then put her mind at ease, and they were all ready to go out and help Rick. Even Eugene decided to join in, as he realized.
That's incorrect, I do. No one gets to clock out today. And hell, this is a story people are gonna tell.
They were all old members of Rick's crew and their ability to kill zombies was undeniable, except for Eugene. Glenn and Enid rushed to the edge of the fence. By now the shelf Maggie is on is shaking. Glenn quickly instructed Enid to help Maggie, and he himself shouted and shot to attract the zombies. Maggie looks down. He's really not dead. She wanted to embrace Glenn, the only person who disregarded his own safety and led the zombies away from her. Enid successfully climbed up as well.
Appreciate it, pal.
This mischievous laughter became the most beautiful melody in the chaos. After a round of shooting, Glenn opened the gate, and Daryl drove the car inside. Then Daryl drove the car to the edge of the lake. opened the valve of the gasoline tank at the back, and let the gasoline flow into the river. Rick's side backed up as he struck. They reached the edge of the enclosure, with the zombies closing in. In a few moments there would be no place for them to retreat. Abraham, this side is seriously overloaded, drove the vehicle away from the lake once again. Daryl signaled that it was ready, and he raised a rocket launcher. The deafening explosion and the towering flames caught the attention of the zombies that were heading towards Rick and his group. They started diverting towards the lake. Rick and the others were momentarily stunned, realizing that they had seen hope in a desperate situation. Upon hearing Rick shout, everyone fought even harder. The zombies gradually made their way towards the lake, where the majority of them would be consumed by the flames. With the combined effort of the group's kills and the fire, over 10,000 zombies were eradicated by just over 20 people, an achievement that would be remembered in history as nearly impossible. The next morning there was no dawn in the sky though. There was even the lingering smoke and pungent smell of burning in the community. However, there was an unfamiliar sense of tranquility. The area bore witness to their accomplishments over the course of a single night. They had emerged victorious from the battle, and every participant had survived. Who could have imagined before this that even they themselves were wondering if this was really something we could do? But everyone has been transformed by this battle. They are no longer afraid in the face of the end times. Nothing could be more challenging than the previous night. Rick stood by Carl's bedside and spoke. I was wrong. I thought they couldn't learn how to survive after living within the walls for so long. But last night, I saw what they're capable of and what we can achieve together. If we unite, we can rebuild this place. There's hope for everything. Last night, I fought alongside them. We accomplished the impossible. In my heart, I feel a sense of hope for the future. Since waking up in the hospital, I was merely a walking corpse. But now, I have confidence in rebuilding a new world. Seems to have heard the words of his father. Carl's hands slowly clenched.